This spirit of we'll figure it out is my favorite thing to hear among early startup team members. A lot of things go wrong. The situations that startups win in tend to be incredibly dynamic. And so this idea that even if I'm not qualified on paper, even if I haven't solved this problem before, even if this problem feels like it's going to kill the company, which many problems will feel that way, this spirit among the team of, you know what, we've got the people we need, we're going to figure this out, we're going to get this done, that's super important. Another thing that I love to hear from early team members is, I've got it. So, you hear in big companies a lot, people say, that's not my department, someone else is going to do that. Or, ooh, this is really bad, this is going to hurt us. And you want people who just step up and say, I'll do it. I've got it. Don't worry about it. You want people that have a bias towards action. Startups, especially in their early days, often win by moving very quickly. You never get as much data as you'd like. You never have as much time to deliberate as you'd like. And you want people who are willing to act with much less data than they like to have, with much less certainty. And then if they act and it doesn't work, they adapt really quickly and try something else. We talk also about the blessing of inexperience. We have seen many of our startups do incredible things because no one told them it was hard, or no one told them they can't do it. There's a great quote from Steve Wozniak about how all the best things he ever did came from having no experience whatsoever and having no money. And, that obviously is not always true, but there is a magic thing that happens with startups, especially in their early days, before they've learned they're not supposed to be able to do certain things. And so I think as a startup, again, it doesn't work to have everybody be inexperienced, but you can take more bets than you normally would on inexperienced but super high potential people. That's the end of the topic on team. One of the most important jobs you have as a founder is to never lose momentum. And this is a little bit depressing because it means for the first few years, you never get to take your foot off of the gas. You never get to really rest. We try to be honest about this, that startups are not the best choice for work-life balance at all, but especially in the early days. Startups survive on their own momentum. If you have momentum, people keep delivering results beyond what they think they're capable of. If you lose momentum, it's very difficult to get it back. And so continuing to make sure that the startup has a cadence, that the startup keeps winning on a relatively short and predictable intervals, this is really important, and it's up to the founders to make sure that you don't lose a hold of this. Another thing that we think startups need is a competitive advantage over time. Now, this is something that sounds so obvious, I hesitated to even put it in. This is well discussed, but we're seeing more and more startups apply to YC, and when we ask them, so what is the long-term monopoly effect here? What is the long-term competitive advantage? What is, where is the network effect in this business? They look at us like it's the first time they've ever heard this question. All of the really great businesses I know have an answer to this question, and in fact, the better they are, the more they pretend not to. But this is something that you want to have a plan for. Another thing you want to have a plan for is at least a sensible business model. You don't have to have it all figured out at the beginning, but when we ask founders, so how are you ever going to make money? And they look at us like it's the first time they've ever been asked that question, which happens more often than you would think recently. That's a bad sign too.